Okay. Good afternoon, Ngozi Talk Shows family. It's Nomsa here at Ngozi Talk Shows. Find your own voice, led from within. With me today, I am with Carol Ann Cooper. How are you, Carol Ann?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good, good.
Missing the sun. The sun has disappeared
Yeah,
here where we are. Oh, it's out.
yeah. We've got
Yeah,
clouds, but it's still quite warm, quite hot.
yeah, it's out.
Mm. Oh,
So,
so you got
our
blue
top.
sky, sun.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So, our topic today, you guys, is communication breakdown, common pitfall, and how to avoid them. Effective communication is crucial in both personal and professional settings, yet it often blocked by common pitfalls. Understanding these as significant can improve the clarity and the efficiency of our interaction with people. So, Carol Annie, you chose this topic, and there must be something that was in your mind or something that you came across that motivated you to choose the topic. So, can you
Mm.
explain to our audience?
Yes, to say what I came across was oh, it's okay. Just change the sorry. Um, yeah, came across some one of our old talks was around communication, and I just thought, okay, let's how does that, because we're always talking about communication and in a relationship. I mean, communication, I love this phrase, communication is the lifeblood of any relationship. And many couples just find themselves stuck in patterns that actually hinder rather than help their connection. And communication is the one thing that can heal, but also can destroy a relationship. And so I just thought, be great. Let's perhaps understand what are the common communication pitfalls and how can we, yeah, avoid them? How can we transform um, our interaction into something that's more harmonious? So the first step is actually recognizing what are the pitfalls, what are the miscommunications, because unless you're aware of them, you don't know that you're doing it. So the first step is actually becoming aware of it. So what have you found around communication, Nom? So you must have found that.
I think communications is the critical component of how a relationship is able to work, whether is it intimacy relationship or personal or business wise. You have to learn how to communicate and also listen as well. I think that is very, very, very important because it's everything. Communication is the umbrella of everything. Without it, everything falls apart.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
love the way you said it's a critical component
Yes.
because it is critical. Because without it, yeah, everything falls apart or everything just flows and grows, you know? So, yeah. So some of the common pitfalls, and I know you said something about listening, um, and there can be where people don't properly listen or they just cut off their partner in mid-sentence. They assume they've understood what they're saying and they cut them off or they've got something to say. And so they're not fully listening. And obviously the partner then feels unheard and not listened to. And there's this sort of withdrawal and a closing off. So what needs to happen, what you need to do is practice what we call active listening, where you have eye contact and you actually summarize what your partner said. So when you're listening, but you then feed back, well, this is what I heard you to say. Am I, and you use their words. You don't put it in your own words. So there's a feeling of then being heard. So again, are you not feeling heard? Do you notice your partner is shutting off? Are you jumping in? Are they jumping in? How can we deal with that? What do you think, Namsa?
Um, I think it is very, very important, like you're saying, Carol Ann, active listening is really important because if your spouse they feel unheard, they are being unheard, they will withdraw and they will shut off and they will protect themselves. They will build this wall where they don't really want to talk. They feel like, what is the point of being in this relationship at the end of the day? I was saying that to my spouse. He's English, I'm not English. Sometimes English people they pretend to be okay, even if they are not okay.
Mm.
I like about you, Carol, and you speak up. But there are some people like let's say they'll come like at Ngozi talk shows, they're not happy. They will never really communicate or be open. It happens that like that in a relationship. Me, I come from Africa. Me, my parents, I watch my parents, they communicate. And when they communicate with somebody, they want to resolve things, but they are also okay even if things don't go. Like I'm also okay if things don't go my way. But when I'm communicating with my spouse, he kind of assumes what I'm gonna say, what I want. He actually has this decision in his head. So I'm like, hear me when I'm speaking to you. Let me speak. Like when I speak, don't assume that's the answer that I'm looking for. Because if you make assumptions, that means you have not heard what I'm looking for. Because sometimes not every answer or every question, like not every need has to be I have to win it, or not every argument or anything I have to win it. Sometimes I just want to be heard. So, but he does not
Mm.
understand it because to him, you get on with things or else. Just get on with things, get up and man up, or just get on with things. I'm like, that's not how the real world works. Even at work, I tell him just because when you are in charge with people, go easy on them. You cannot expect them to be you and to get on with things if they're not okay. I'm like, me, if I'm not okay, I'm not okay, kiddo. So that's me.
Yeah. And I've got better over the years. I didn't used to. I used to just shut off and not communicate. And you build that wall and you should say it's, yeah, I'm okay. But inside you're not. And that's not being authentic. And that's a word that I didn't really understand what it meant in the beginning. I used to keep hearing this, are you being authentic, or where are you being inauthentic? And I'd be going, what do you mean? And that word would rattle around. And now I understand you're saying one thing, but inside you're thinking something else or feeling something else completely different to this facade that you're putting out to the world. That's not being authentic. You're not being your true self. And so that is important, to be authentic. But to be able to do that, you have to wake up to what's going on inside of you and be honest to yourself. Because if you can't be honest and authentic with yourself, you can't with other people. So if you're not actually really owning up to the fact I'm not happy, I am really not happy, you're not going to own up to it out there. But it's then being able to find that confidence to say, right, yeah, I am not happy. And what can I do about this? What can we do about this? And having that communication, it's important. And assumptions, you were talking about assumptions. They assume they know what you're saying. So they cut in or they butt in. But it works the other way. Sometimes there's assumptions in as much as you assume they know what you're thinking. And that's that's a real no-no, because it's like, you're wanting help. You're thinking, I need help. And you're assuming that they know that. And then you get resentful because they're not giving you the help that you want. So you build resentment inside, which they don't understand. And that energy, again, that builds up that wall that you spoke about, Namsa.
Yeah.
It's like this energetic wall that goes up, and you put brick after brick. It might be fence panel after fence panel that are really strongly glued together. And you just build it and build it until it seems impossible to actually to break it down. But just that one action of having that some dialogue that says, look, I need help. I'm struggling. I need help with this. And be specific. My mum used to say, very often, she'd say, can't you see what needs doing? I'd say to her, what do you need, help me? Can't you see what needs doing? And I get, no, I can't. And I just storm away. And then I think, that doesn't help either. So it's being able to just stand and say, no, I can't see what you need me to do. Because maybe I can see what needs to be done, but sometimes I'd start to do something and she said, no, I don't want you to do that. I want you to do this. Or, you're taking over from what I'm doing. And so you need to be directive of what is it you need help with? Could you help me? Could you go and peel the potatoes? Could you take out the rubbish? Could you hoover the carpet, the lounge or whatever it is? Or can you just give me a hug? I just want a hug right now. Rather than singing, I really want to hug, and they don't want to hug me, and I could really do with this hug. How do they know what exactly you want? So it's being really specific in your communication. And the other partner, if you're aware that there's something that's not right and they're not communicating it, you can take responsibility for actually asking, is there anything specifically that you'd like me to help you with? Rather than a blanket, what do you want me to help you with? Because in that moment, it's like, well, I don't know. What specifically would help you right now? What specifically would you like me to do? Just that one word takes a brick out the wall, so communication can happen. It's amazing. It's language, and it's all down to language. The words that you use, the energy that you put behind them, the way they're used. And it's really important to become aware of the words you're using and what you're saying, and how can you just tweak it. What one word could you use, or one word could you leave out? Yeah. I just like to, there's a quote that says this beautifully. Peter Drucker. He says the most important thing in communication. No, sorry, it's George Bernard Shaw is the one I'm looking at now. The single biggest problem in communication is the illusion that it has taken place. Yeah.
The illusion.
The illusion. Yeah, the illusion. You totally illuded. You think, it's taking place. I've said it. I'm thinking it. Why can't they read my thoughts? Why don't they know? You communicated somehow, or you think you have. That's the illusion, isn't it? You think the communication has taken place. Do you find that there are couples or people that come to you with where these illusions play out?
Yes, definitely.
And how do you support them in that?
Because sometimes the people shut down not communicating their needs because of their past relationship, their past trauma because they've been judged before, or they've dated somebody who has made them feel that they are not enough. And if they have not dealt with those problems, then they transfer them to another relationship, and they become that as well. They don't communicate their needs because either they are scared of being judged, or they just don't like a confrontation. People will tell you that I don't like confrontation, but I'm like, but if you are in a relationship, why pretending that you are okay if you are not okay? Because to me, what I believe, when you are dating somebody, that person, it becomes your best friend. They become your friend. They become your lover. They become everything. So you should be able to communicate with that person. They should be able to let you be. But if they're not letting you be, then that means that relationship is not gonna work. So for me, that's how I see it. But people continue, even though they see that it's not working, they will continue doing that. Or simply, men don't just want to talk, or women don't just want to talk. They'll be like, I'm happy with everything the way things they are. Are you not happy? So you find that people are so frustrated with everything. They're so frustrated because they're not really happy. But then you just have to bring them to that place of where they have to rewrite their own story, find their own voice, lead from within. That's why we do it in Gossip Talk shows. Is it, Carol Ann?
Absolutely. And there's something you were saying there about body language actually doesn't show the same. You know, you might be saying you're okay, but actually sometimes your facial expression, your body language actually says something different. And I remember my ex-husband at times would say to me, "Why are you miserable?" And I said, "I'm not, I'm just quiet." And I wasn't aware of, he was reading my face that was still quiet and to him looked miserable. But I was just quiet and I just wanted to be reflective. I was quite happy in myself. But I used to take that as criticism, and I never really looked into it and thought, well, let me look at myself in the mirror. What is he seeing that belies what I'm feeling? And maybe I could have done that and said to him and explained, well, actually, I get now that my face looks miserable to you, and know that actually inside I'm feeling just quiet and I just want to be quiet in this moment. And so it enables, it acknowledges what it would have acknowledged what he'd said and not made him wrong. But I kept making him wrong because I was thinking, what do you mean? I'm miserable. And I thought he was making me wrong. So I was making him wrong. So there was this energetic fighting and resentment going on. Whereas again, that's another brick on the wall. So to take away a brick would have been just to look, see, well, what is it he's seeing? And go from there and have a conversation. Because then again, that opens up conversation. It acknowledges the other person's perspective and it acknowledges your own and gives you that voice and that power to say exactly what's going on. But again, it comes down to me taking charge of that and ownership of, well, what's my body language here right now? And then it's an education, really. It's educating that person. Say, well, look, when I look like this, actually what's going on. Or the way you put that question doesn't make me feel very good. And I was feeling all right until that moment. And educate them how to actually say what it is they want to say in that respect, in terms of, well, you're looking miserable. Why are you miserable? Just ask a different question, educate them. How would you like them to ask a question? Or, you know, they're obviously thinking something's wrong. So it's having that open conversation. Again, it's all about communication. It's all communication. And if you find yourself silenced, you're just building that brick wall. You are just constantly putting the nails of death into the coffin. Actually, sorry, nails into the coffin of your relationship. And then yes, you take that forward. And if that one then fails and falls apart, if you haven't dealt with that, like you said, Nomsa, you take it forward with you into the next relationship. And maybe you find someone who's maybe a little bit more open or does question. But again, if you haven't fully addressed that you couldn't, that communication wasn't there before, it's going to show up again in a different way. So you really need to address it and confront it. And confrontation, I think it's one of the biggest, is that fear of conflict and the anxiety that conflict, the confrontation might lead to anger, rejection, and actually the relationship breaking down because you confronted before, because you've had that confrontation. So again, it's recognizing what are the fears that hold you back and address those fears. And there's actually, I'd just like to share, there are 2 points on the bottom of your foot. If I show you my hand, so these are your toes, and just sort of, you've got the pad of your foot. Just here, you'll find there's a little dip on your foot, each foot. Just sit and hold those points and just go through your conversations, because that's the end of the kidney meridian, which is about fear. It's also a point that we hold when we're integrating what's called the fear paralysis reflex. And that reflex, you freeze. It's the one where you become mute, you can't talk. So it's allowing yourself to then just free up yourself from that reflex so that you can find your voice and think clearly. So that's just one simple thing. Just it's called K1 points. It's the first point on the kidney meridian, which is a channel of energy that runs up the body. We have a lot of different meridians over the body. And as I said, on your foot, just below the pad of your foot, just here, it's a little index, just hold those points and just notice what changes as you're thinking about confronting and having that conversation where you need to confront what is not working. Remember, it's nothing wrong. Don't label it as good, bad, right or wrong. It's not working. It's not comfortable. Those are words that you can work with and then shift. And yeah, so what do you think about that, using that sort of language, Namsa?
I like what you're saying, Kero and Kozi, is really, really important to understand someone's language and also like a cultural difference as well. And communication is very, very simple, but people complicate things because, like I always say, if you watch my videos when I'm on my own, I always say, when people go on a date, they really want to hear the other person. They are listening. They just want to be the one. They will do anything to actually become the one. And then once they win that person, everything changes. So it's like, imagine if a relationship was like the beginning when it all started, communicating properly and really getting excited with the other person and just being curious every single day, we wouldn't have any problems. And but we do get problems because we stop making an effort. We are like, when the other person is talking, do I really have to listen? We don't really listen to them. So it's really, really important to actually Listen to your spouse when they speak. It's like when you're at work, you listen when the managers are communicating or the job description, you listen to that. So that is the relationship is the same. You get excited so that you can actually live a happy life with the other person. So it's very, very, very important. Who is calling me now? Who's calling? Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's calling.
So it's really, really important to actually
Yeah.
let me send James a message to tell him I'm alive.
Okay. So what you're saying that what I heard there in the beginning, there's a concentration on communication and doing anything to win that relationship. What you need to be conscious of, are you compromising any of your values in order to get that relationship and make it work? Because that's when you get into the relationship, if you are compromising your values, they're
Yeah.
like little needles that go, and that's where you start beginning to feel, oh, this isn't comfortable, this isn't working, because you weren't being authentic in the beginning. And you have to recognize, what were you doing in the beginning that had the relationship come together that isn't working now? Have you started showing your true colors that weren't there in the beginning because you were doing anything just to get the relationship? So this is where, again, you need to sit down, have that conversation, and be open and honest with yourself and with your partner. And then be honest and say, do you actually want to be in this relationship anymore? And if actually you've come to a place where, yeah, I would like to be, and they want to be, then it's how can we make this work? And then you sit down together and say, well, what are my values? What is important? And you each make a list. What's important to me? And you have a look at your list and see, well, do they match, or are they completely a mismatch? Is there something that maybe you can agree on and bring it to the top? So you have something that's together at the top. It doesn't have to be everything, but at least a couple of things need to be a match. And then the rest can be, wherever they fall. But being aware of your partner's top 5 values can help you to understand that person and work with them rather than against them. So, yeah, as you said, sometimes you stop making the effort. Is it because, you sit back and you go, well, okay, I've done the work, got the relationship. There's an assumption. Again, as you said before, didn't you, Nom? Assumptions kill a relationship, because you made an assumption. Okay, I've done the work. That's it. I've got the relationship. That's it. What's all I need to do? Well, no, that's where the real work then begins, to maintain the relationship, to keep it alive, to bring that excitement, keep it there. And it's up to both of you. But if you notice it's starting to get a little bit stopped, then take responsibility and, have that conversation. Open up that conversation. Say, look, and if you're both busy, and you're thinking, I've got time for this, because maybe that's where you've got to stop and say, right, what's really important here? Is this relationship important to me, or is it not? And then be honest. If it's not, you need to stop and say so. You need to find that time to have that conversation. If it is important to you, then even more so, have that conversation and say what you're noticing, and own up to your part in it. Sorry, I've just realized that I've stopped making that effort to be with this relationship, or whatever it is you stopped the effort with that was there in the beginning. Be honest and open, and say, look, and I am actually committed to this relationship if you are. And ask them if they are too. Ask them if because they might go, oh yeah, I was realizing the same thing, but I didn't know how to start the conversation. You never know just by opening it up what can come. And be prepared. Maybe there might be anger comes out of it. upset, sadness. You need to be prepared for that and notice if it impacts you and you then start reacting. Because if you do, then that again would bring the relationship down. Noticing how your emotions, being able to manage your emotions is really key. It's not ignoring them. It's not putting them down. It's being able to manage them and be aware of them and observe them rather than your emotions taking over you. So if you're angry and upset and you're just all over the place because you literally anger and rage has taken over you so that you're totally out of control and you don't really know what you're saying, that is not a workable place to be. It's not a healthy place to be for either of you. It's being able to feel that emotion and then step back and go, okay, I'm observing. I am feeling angry. I'm feeling as if I want to hit out and lash out and actually own what you're feeling. And by being present to it, can you feel the difference? It's like it hasn't got control of you. And that's a skill in itself. And something that you can do to help you. There's a couple of things I'm thinking. One of them is a brain gym activity, which is called hookups. And all you do is you put your hands out in front, thumbs to the floor, put one hand over the other, interlink your fingers, and then just roll up and under. You then also cross your ankles, cross your feet at your ankles, and just sit and feel the emotion, whatever the emotion is, whatever is it that you want to say that you feel you can't say, and then just feel it. And this position will help you feel the emotion, and then you can feel it dissipating. It can then open up that space for a conversation to be had. And then you just put feet apart and then fingertips together. It's got two parts to this activity. As I said, it's called hookups. Brain gym are activities that help take away the stress of learning, help your body to just diffuse, find a different way of thinking. And a part of something called educational kinesiology, which is about re-educating the body to move in a more efficient way. Something else is tapping, emotional freedom technique, tapping for short. And you could just tap the top of your head and go, I'm feeling this anger. I'm really feeling angry. So much anger. I just got so much anger in me. And you just tap this one point at the top of your head. There are other points, which are the ends of the meridians that you can tap, which can, it just dissipates the emotion. That's just something really simple. Can then promote your conversation. Is there anything else that you've come across, Namsa, that would help when people sort of help them manage their emotions rather than shut down in them?
And my daughter, she's disturbing me. She wants to take her iPad outside. I'm saying no.
Okay. Clear and simple.
Eh? I think what you're saying, Carol Ann, that what am I like asking yourself your values and what is really important to you? I think it's really, really important when you're communicating, when you are in a relationship. Um, and that is the other thing that is really, really important. Like when people get together, they forget these things to ask themselves their values, the things that are important, and they give them up. They give these things, these important things up. Like I was telling my spouse the other day, I was like, I'm going to church, and they were like, you're going to church too much. I was like, if there are activities in church, I do go to church, guys. You know, I love church. But then I said at the same time on Sunday, I will not, I don't like to miss my Sunday. I like to be in church instead of going to a party or if I'm invited to a party, I show up. For me, I show up after the church. But if you invite me before that, I was like, Gary always, you guys know that Gary will always come first in my life. If I'm on a holiday, yes, that's fine. God knows I'm on holiday. But I was like, but if I'm at home, I would not choose to go to church instead of go. I will not choose to go to a party instead of going to church. So I was like explaining them my values, how I feel, what does my values mean to me. And they were like, all like looking at me. I was like, yes, because if I don't show up for God, He showed up for me, so I need to show up for Him. That's the love that I have for God. Like, because if I go to other people, these people could simply neglect me whenever they want. But with God,
Mm,
my place is always there if I need it. I have that choice.
mm,
So I was letting them know, and they didn't like it. And I was like, that is true. Well, obvious. But then I was like, if I'm going somewhere, like if I'm going to choir is important, but at the same time, my family comes first. So I was like, I'll always I can tell them I can come next week. This week I'm doing something with my family. So I was trying to see them the difference about life, how I value my life. But for me, my family values, my God values, all that plays an important part in my life, important part in my life. So all those things, they are really, really important when you are working on your when you're working, like when you select your spouse, when and also people do change. And for me, I know people do change, but before I started cleansing my fasting, I think I used to not take life very serious, but I don't think I used to be in this place. But now I'm just realizing that maybe I used to take life too serious. Now for me, it's just to go with the flow. If somebody needs me, I don't question. I'm there if I have to be there. I don't question why do I have to be there, because I see that we take life for granted in life. So there's some things that are important. There are some things that are not. Like talking, complaining. It's not worth it.
mm. It's not worth it. And constantly complaining. Energetically, it's hurting you
Yeah.
because energetically it's creating that lower vibrational energy where your immune system can get compromised, illness, disease can come in, and your body can't fight it off. Um, and it's not just your physical health, it's your mental health. If you're constantly complaining, then you're not happy in yourself. And so, yeah, it's depression can come in. You get depressed, you get lethargic, sit, and you get into this cycle. And so again, it's breaking that cycle. And rather than complaining, again, it's coming back to words, isn't it? Reframing your words, sort of acknowledge, okay, well, I'm not happy with this, or they're constantly doing this. Well, what can you say that might shift or change the circumstances or change the situation or reframe it so that you feel differently about it? Maybe ask, well, what's the silver lining in here? What's the lesson here for me to learn? What can I learn from this? So that you're focusing on a different perspective rather than that negative and energy draining side of it. There's a more uplifting side, and there's always a silver lining. There's always a positive, there's a message or something you can learn from this to be able to move forward. So I like what you were saying when you were being firm and saying that, your commitment and your value to God and to the church, and that people, they didn't like it. Was it that they didn't like you being that strong, or was it that they didn't like it because you wouldn't go with them, or what was it they didn't like
Oh
about
no,
that
they don't
straightness?
like it that I'm choosing God, because like if I'm invited to like family dinners and family
Mm,
stuff, for me, okay, family is important, but first, before for me to keep this family, there is somebody above that.
Mm.
If they are sick, I'm gonna have to ask God to protect them. So I was like, if you have a party, make sure you have a party in the afternoon because I ain't showing up. I ain't missing my Sundays to go to church. But if I'm on holiday or if you're somebody who lives far, I'm visiting, I don't mind. But I was like, if I'm at home, I want to go to church.
Mm.
And if you go to my church knows that I love my church. Honest, they would tell you
No,
that I just
yeah,
love God, Carol Annie.
yeah,
It's just,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, yeah.
So they didn't like the fact that I said God comes first in my life.
Mm.
But then I had to say to them, listen, I wouldn't be able to keep you without him. So I might as well be on the good side. Because if I'm on the good side with him, then I'm able to protect you guys.
Mm.
So they didn't like that. They were like, we are your family. I was like, yes, you're right. You're my family. But God comes first. God will always, always come first in my life because there are things in life. I've traveled, Kero Ani. I've met people. People turn within a second. Within a second,
Mm.
people turn. A husband can turn within a second. So I'm not prepared to trade my guy for a husband or for children or for family. I'm not prepared to do that.
Mm.
I
Mm.
always put God first because
Mm.
when I do that, I know everything else is added to me. I know my family are safe. I know He will look after them.
Mm. Yeah, because you are certain, safe in the certainty and the knowledge that God doesn't turn just like that.
No, He doesn't.
Whatever He delivers to you
It's real.
is real, but it's also for the best for you to be able to grow and to move forward. And sometimes it feels like, oh my God, what, why did God give me this? Why did He do this to me?
Yeah.
And it's that hearing those words, why did He do it to me? He doesn't, He does it for you. It's always an answer to a prayer that you've put out. And it may not be the answer that you think you should get. Again, there's assumptions kick in, and you're not realizing the fullness of the answer. And I remember it took me a long while to realize that actually, many years ago, when I was laid up at home and my knee was blown up like a balloon, my ankle, same, head, neck, and shoulders just locked tight. I could barely move. And during that time, I was putting up a prayer. I just want some company because I was on my own in the house. My ex-husband and I had parted company at this stage. And my daughter had her eldest child. And Chanel was 2 at the time. And my daughter was ill. And she asked me if I could have Chanel. And Chanel came to stay with me. And I managed to, with her. And we would very often just sit on the settee downstairs and just go to sleep. And she'd be on with me. We'd be cuddling up and listening to my music that I had then, very sort of meditative music. And I realized that actually here was the answer to my prayer. It wasn't what I was thinking I want or should get, you know. This child actually helped her, having her there, because she actually would pat each of my knees and she'd say, this one okay? This one hurt? And she'd kiss it, and I swear she kissed me better, so, and I know now she was a gift from God at the right and proper time. So stop questioning, although I still do question. Go on, God's guidance and what I get is the question. And it's okay to question, just keep asking and the answers will come, but it's being open to the answers. And so it's also recognizing, this is the important part, is what Nomsa was saying. People don't always like when you make a stand for what's important
Yeah.
for you. But the fact you were able to explain that, and you shouldn't have to explain yourself, because, it should be enough. And there's that should, so there's a make wrong, and it's okay if you feel you want to explain, because it helps them. If you're aware then again of their needs, they want to know that they are important and that your family is important to you. But it's having God first is what's really important, so you can support your family and help you to put them first when it needs to be, So be prepared for people not liking what it is you say and what you're a stand for. But if you are strong in that, they will eventually come round, because if you start dithering and folding and collapsing to go with them, then that trust goes, because they can't trust you to be your word, to be what you say is important to you, or, you standing by what is important to you. So trust then goes. And again, that's a key component of a relationship, communication. It is trusting what someone is saying is true, is authentic. And so if you just keep maintaining your stand, what's important to you, they'll either come around or they'll just toddle off, and other people will come in, because, if people toddle off, then it gives space for someone else to come in who will accept you for who you are and what you stand for. And I've had, there's members of my family that I just, they've just drifted away. And there's a part of me goes, oh, I'd like to speak, but it's not an upset anymore. It's like, okay, they're where they're at, I'm where I'm at. And what's important for me right now is my growth, is me getting my business up together. It's me being able to do what I've been wanting to do for years. That's what's important. If I give that up to then focus on going and talking with them, or attempting to turn their views around about what I'm doing, it's not going to work, because actions speak louder than words. And so by taking the actions and standing by what you say and making it work, all of a sudden other conversations will open up. And I think I said it before, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. So, and my family are my family. They're part of me and they're here for my life because they are my family, and they can still drift into the background. And maybe there's something there for me to learn about communication and about how people drift into the background. And I'm just sort of thinking about that now as I'm saying it, because they are my relations. And for me, I've realized we do choose our relations. We choose our family when we come in, because they are then with you. You can choose friends and they can come and go, and then you can dischoose them. Your family are your family. And what I came to realize, and I'm not asking you to take this on board. I'm just saying this is what I've come to realize. And maybe it's a perspective that you could consider, that you chose your family because they will give you your biggest lessons to learn here in this lifetime. And if you can confront those lessons, you can grow. So, that is something that I've learned, and I've done a lot of growing just by confronting some of those issues I've had with family members. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to know this. And then when I actually deal with it and look inside and work on it and resolve it, all of a sudden it just disappears. And it's like, oh, okay. There's a new love and a new friendship within that family dynamic that opens up. So yeah, I just ask you to consider it, take it on board, have a look and play with it. Just play. What have you got to lose? It's just playing.
Nothing.
It's just playing, have an adventure, be curious. Those are my top values: having an adventure, being curious.
Yeah.
But persistence as well.
Yeah, and also like sometimes I look at myself, there's some dreams that if I had listened to my family, I will not be where I am today. But for me, I am somebody who minds their own business. I just mind my own business and do what I have to do. But I find when I confide in somebody like that, I'm doing this, and then somebody will have something like, and that something is always to stop me with doing my, like acting on my decision. So now I don't, I was communicating with my spouse when we were talking. That's when I was like, he's talking to me like you're talking about the church and stuff. So I'm realizing when he's talking, it's like, okay, this is my prayer that I have been praying. And now this prayer now is showing the pain that would have showed up 10 years time. So me, I've just provoked it to show up now. So I'm like, he's talking. So I'm like, I could see the poor guy is so serious. And me, I'm like, he's not talking. These are ancestors talking, talking through him. I'm like, how do I tell him? But I'm just gonna let the guy. I'm just gonna let the guy continue being in pain for no reason. so then I was like, and then I need to have a word with these ancestors. So now I had to tell my brother now, because my brother is a pastor. I was like, would you tell your ancestors off, please? Because the guy is so serious. My spouse does not care whether I go to church or I don't. Honestly, his personality is just a loving and caring person. But when he was talking about the church, so I was like, like camera ID, you could see somebody is putting the message across, but it's not him that is talking, because now I'm overpowering ancestors, so they are finding ways to stop me. So now I'm like, my brother, tell them to actually stop the nonsense. So then he was like, because my brother knows how to communicate with them and tell them to tell them to say she has chosen the path that she wants to go, but you cannot stop her. So they're actually using my spouse for me to actually choose my relationship instead of God. So I was like, to my brother, but I could see the guy is so in pain when he is speaking. So my brother was like, don't even speak to him. No, so just let him. They will just leave. They will leave when they are ready, when they get the message, they will leave him alone. But those are the things that sometimes it's really important to know yourself and also to be in the present moment, because he's not in the present moment. If he was in the present moment, he'll be like, but that's not me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as we always say, being in the present moment is so important, because right here, right now,
Yeah.
nothing else exists but this moment.
Yeah.
And all those thoughts and everything, they just go, because what's here
Yeah.
is what's here.
And then when they're finished with him, and now they want to teach me a lesson. My daughter, I go shopping. The fridge is so full up. I fill that whole freezer. And the freezer is not working, stops working. And then the next day I open it, the freezer is not working, but it's cold. The food is not like damaged. And then I'm like, ancestors, could you please leave my freezer alone and stop torturing me? Because I've got another freezer. There's no point in torturing me. I've got another freezer in the storage. And then my freezer start working normal.
Yeah.
So I've learned from you, Carol Anna. You are the one that actually taught me to actually focus on what I'm saying So I think,
Yeah. Good. And you listened and you heard and you took action. That's what I love about you, Nomsa.
yeah,
You listen and you digest it and
yeah,
you take it on board if you feel it's something you want to, and you take action on it. And you're quite happy to say, well, no, that's not for me. But you really listen, but you're happy to have a go, play it, play around with it,
yeah.
check it
Because what
out,
I've learned, Carol Annie, every person that comes into your life, when they give you the words of encouragement, advice,
Mm.
there's a reason for it. So for me, it's like everything that somebody says, I just put everything into action. So when I was talking to you last time, I decided, you know what? I need to pray and ask God. And then at the same time, I need to listen and just be like observe around me, things around me. And that's how my spouse, honestly, inside of me, I'm just so laughing, but I don't want him to see that I'm laughing.
Yeah. It's lovely when you can see the pattern, isn't it? You can see it. It's like, oh my goodness, yeah, I know what's happening here.
Honestly, I had to call my brother. I was like, my
Yeah.
brother, because my brother is so. I was like, could you please tell your ancestors to leave this poor guy because they're now they're now getting to me trying to stop me with my fast. Because at first they were like they made it clear that you're not gonna reach 200 days. So I went on 200 days. Just before 200 days, that's when now they started going to him. Like he's like, Nomsa, you go to church too much. You're praying too much. I was like, you don't even care how much I pray. You playing your games.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm looking at the guy, Carol Ad. I was like, oh my goodness.
Mm.
But my brother was like, I'll speak to them. And then when he speaks to them, and then they go to my freezer now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and this is what makes life a lot lighter when you can actually
Yeah.
just see it for what it is and go, okay, you know,
Yeah.
you can then do something, and you've then got the power to do something about it. You're not being a victim, you're being
Now.
creator and changing it and shifting and actually, yeah, you're being that stand-in for what it is you really want to achieve. And the universe, or whoever it is, or your ancestors will come in to challenge your resolve. And it's
Yep.
about, are you really resolved in this? Are you really sure you want to do this? And are you committed? And yeah, things will
Yeah.
test it all along.
And the relationship gets tested as well.
Yep.
So we have to
Yeah.
communicate.
Mm. Yeah.
It's
That's right.
important.
So just leaving with some final words, because yes, communication is important. And we've given you some ideas of what you can do to support that, what things you need to look for. And I'd like to leave you with a quote by Tony Robbins, which says, to effectively communicate, we must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world, and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. So know that whatever you say, someone else can perceive it in a different way. And it's understanding how people perceive things and just being able to be open to dance in that conversation. Communication is a skill that can always be improved with practice and commitment. And that's a word that I like there, commitment. Are you committed to having the best relationship you possibly can have, whether it's with your partner, with your business, with your friends, your family? Are you committed? And then look at your communication style, look at what's happening with communication, and commit to improving it. Because I promise you, you improve your communication skills, everything else improves. So what would you like to leave them with, Namsa?
For me, I leave you with this, guys. you have to know yourself. When it comes to a relationship, you have to know yourself. Be an open-minded person. Don't take life too serious. When the relationship began, where you communicate with your spouse, where you're so curious, you want to know about that person, that is the energy you need to have. Wanting to know more about them. Don't get tired of your spouse. Just be curious, have empathy. And love is unconditional love is, guys, it means I listen to you even when you are in pain. When you are not in pain, you just listen to your spouse. Honey, what do you want? What can I do? What part do you want me to play? And most of the time, sometimes the people communicate with you because they just want to listen to you. And mostly for me, like I've learned to pray. And when I'm confiding in somebody, sometimes I just want that person to listen. Sometimes I just want just to let them in to this journey where I'm going, and nothing else. And it's a joy. It's beautiful when you learn to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a joy. It's beautiful because sometimes the relationship get broken because we don't know how to communicate, and we don't know how to humble ourselves, or even to say sorry to somebody. We don't know how to do that. I could see, like Carol Anna, I could see the ancestors like on social media. Now that Martin is like confused, they made him confused. And now they are bringing me these guys like they're like, I was like, ancestors. I am not looking for a man. Why are you interfering with my life? Because I'm in the present moment, I can see what is happening. So it's actually being in the present moment. Never blame anyone. Everything that is being said in a relationship will always set you first. What made me trigger this reaction, this pain to this person? And what I've noticed mostly, like myself, like going into prayer, like when I'm praying, sometimes the pain that my parents went through, the pain that my ancestors went through is now would trigger my pain for me to have pain similar to my family. So because I'm alert, I'm then have to sympathize with the other person. I have to sympathize with my spouse and say, let me, and when I'm done with him, I find if I go to the bedroom and just ask for God for mercy, it just goes away. But if I didn't know Carol Annie, I would be like busy with the poor guy and saying, you don't understand. I would be like fighting him, but I don't. Honestly, I don't. That's the good thing about Nkosi talk shows. We actually say things as they are. And I look after me. I search myself through. And all those things are important before in a relationship you blame somebody, just search you through. Because the communication, it might be a block that maybe that person feel they cannot communicate with you, or simply the problem is them. But then find ways how you can help them to bring the best out. Because we become who we are because of other people. Like Carol Ann, she's at Ngosi talk shows. Sometimes she'll say things to make me question my abilities, and I'll be like, okay. And or sometimes I ask questions. I should give me some advice, and then I use them. So those are the things that are important. Ask questions, have somebody that you can communicate with out of the relationship, or a coach, instead of bruising your relationship. That's what I live with you guys today. Rewrite your story. Don't be afraid to rewrite your story, and don't live in fear. Your spouse is your spouse. They are your best friend. Yeah. And don't be the person who cries for everything. I used to be that. When my spouse says the hateful words, I just go and cry. I cry for everything. But now I don't. When he says something, I have to, it gives me food for thought. What is in me that is triggering his behavior?
Mm-hmm.
When I've got free time, I think I need to come and uh, do like a 1 hour video with my journey of fasting, the things that I have had to face, guys, when it comes to relationship. And I'm realizing in the journey where I've been, some people just give up with their relationship for no reason. Yeah. I've gone through journey with the ancestors. I go through journey, like when you say you're doing something, when you say you love somebody, there will be a challenge. Like, how much do you really love this person? And then that will be presented to you. Carol Ann, you've been married for 25 years. So I think that's what I leave you with, you guys. And Ngozi Talk Shows, please, guys, go to www.hseia.com and .coach, two websites. And you can sign up. Both websites are live. The other one you will have to go. HSEIA will go soon. I'm waiting for them to finalize the affiliate links. So that would be great. So, guys, if you want coaching, you want to connect with Carol Annie, you can go on Carol Annie's Facebook page. Are you on Instagram as well, Carol Ann?
Yeah.
Instagram, Facebook. Are you on Twitter? And she's on LinkedIn, definitely.
I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Twitter, but I don't use it.
Yeah, she's on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Places. Yeah.
I don't think we are broadcasting on LinkedIn either, because I think I need to subscribe on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah, I would do it sometime this week and you now have to subscribe to broadcast live.
Okay, that might be a good one to do.
Yeah, so I'll do
open
that.
Open up the communication channels for Ngozi Talk Shows.
Yes, I hope they don't start charging Facebook as well.
Oh, never mind. Anyway, what for today's conversation are we going to round up?
Live with grace, everyone, and God bless.
Yes, God bless.
Did I actually cut you off?